Hi again, guys. Thanks for joining me. Now, I'm having a little vinyl sort of run of clips at the moment, and this is another one. But this is an anniversary type thing. This is Prince and the Revolution, the album's Parade, from the film Under the Cherry Moon, which wasn't too successful, but I quite like it. It was in black and white. I thought it was pretty cool, and I like the music because I love this album. And this album is 38 years old. I think it was 2 or 3 days ago. It was 38 years old. That makes me feel very old. But this album's very important to me. It was the first album that I really listened to properly by Prince. I remember seeing, and it was 1986 it came out. I remember seeing Kiss, which is one of his biggest hits. Number one in America, and I think top 10 hit. I remember seeing that on Top of the Pops and thinking, this guy's weird. And it was okay. Didn't really strike me one way or the other. And then I'd left school that year. I didn't go to sixth form because I wasn't clever enough. So I ended up working for Assembly Music in Bath through the lovely Steve Gardner, who unfortunately has passed away now. But he got me started there along with Simon Gardner and Ken Dewar. And I've mentioned Ken before. And Ken Dewar was kind of like an older brother to me, really. And he would drive me and him backwards and forwards from the Lower Bristol Road to Widcombe, that's areas of Bath, about 15 minutes apart, a bit longer with traffic, of course, traffic. And he would play cassettes in the car, as it was then, it was 86. And he'd recorded this album Parade, but also Sign of the Times. But I remember listening to it anyway, and he would love playing it, and we'd sort of go cruising around Bath, and go down Milsom Street a few times when we really should be driving back to the warehouse. But we'd be cruising with our windows down, and it seemed hotter then. Maybe it was. And I remember sitting there thinking, oh, and there was kind of saucy lyrics in the songs. But really, I've been playing drums 5 or 6 years by then. I was listening to the drum sound. And the drum sound sometimes was a live drum sound, sometimes with the snares on, sometimes with them off, like a timbale type thing. And there was also, I could hear like, what I didn't know at the time was Simmons toms and also Lindrum as well, which we all know my love affair of Lindrums, and if you don't, I love them, and I've got a Lind 2 over there, but it's not working at the moment, which is a shame. But that combination of the live drums being played and the electronics really freaked me out, and I was a bit like, oh, okay. And then I was 16, 17, so, I was getting a bit more interested in going out and having a good time. And some of the lyrical content was like, oh, that's a bit saucy. And I got into that, and then the funk guitar. I'd always liked funk. I loved the Average White Band that Dad played me. So in the end, there was a few, and there was some Beatlesque elements in his music as well at this time. And I kind of noticed that in the music, and there's some rock guitar, and I was into Deep Purple and Whitesnake and Rainbow. So, and I was like, this guy sort of crosses loads of different kind of streams. He's sort of funky one minute, then he's a bit saucy funky, then he's saucy rocky, and then it's more rocky than funk, and then it's quite some of it is quite filmic as well, and some of the pads and the keyboard pads, because I was a big Gary Newman fan. I loved electronic music, again, as you guys know. And yeah, so all the elements were in there for me, and he had a great voice, and there were some horns on it as well, so a bit jazzy. And it just, for a 16-year-old who was in that headspace of like a sponge, taking in all this cultural music and art and movies and stuff, I was just ready for an artist like Prince to come in. And then I just got more into Prince from there, really. But for people who've not heard it, check it out. The album is great. I love the look of the band at this time. The Revolution looked fantastic. The live show was great. There's like a DVD bootleg that was kicking around, or VHS as it was then, of some of the 1986 hit and run tour from this album, which were great. And I bought all the bootlegs I could find just listening to that band. And when I could get the videos, I'd sit there and try and look at Bobby Z, who was the drummer, and think, okay, so that's a piccolo snare drum. It's a Simmons bass drum, Simmons toms to the right. So whereas floor toms would be 2 or 3 Simmons toms, there was like a Lindrum here that was clearly triggering, was the brain to trigger some of these things. And there was 2 little Syndrums or 4 Syndrums this side, real cymbals, real hi-hat, real crashes, and china and a ride. But no normal toms. Everything else was electronic, and it was just wicked. And listening to that bass drum, that sort of really cool bass drum sound, which was the Simmons, but triggered from the Lindrum, just amazing, and all the drums were paisley, the black plastic on the back, which would normally be red or yellow or pink or blue or, you know, whatever colours Simmons made. They had special ones made that were paisley. And as I say, the whole band, Wendy, Lisa, Brian, Mark, Dr. Fink, you know, Bobby Z, they all looked so fly. They look brilliant. So yeah, this album means a lot to me. And to find out it's 38 years old is crazy. Yeah, just insane. So on the album, the tracks, we've got Christopher Tracy's Parade, which is kind of Beatlesque kind of vibe, you know, Magical Mystery Tour kind of vibes. New Position, which is kind of a James Brown dirty funk thing. I Wonder You, which again is a bit trippy. Under the Cherry Moon is almost like a 1940s pastiche of a ballad of that period of time, you know, film noir type thing or whatever. Girls and Boys is just a good old funk romp, a bit James Brownish. Life Can Be So Nice. I'm not sure how we could describe that. It's kind of rocky, funky, mental, really. Venus de Milo is a beautiful instrumental with strings. Claire Fisher did the strings for that. And Mountains starts side 2, and that's one of my favourite Prince songs of all time. Can you hear it? Mountains, I love the idea of that. It's kind of hippie, but I kind of dig that vibe. Do You Lie? Play with brushes, like a jazzy swing thing, you know, it's kind of cool. Again, a pastiche of something like Honey Pie by McCartney on the White Album, something like that, you know, going back to the days of the 30s and 40s. And then, of course, the classic Kiss. Cool. Another Lover, Hole in Your Head is cool. That's a sort of funky romp. And Sometimes It Snows in April is a beautiful little ballad. But I've realised that this album, and there's loads of albums that I talk about that have really inspired me to play music, to love music, to seek out new music, but also now I'm to produce, you know, in certain ways, using certain sounds. And certainly on this album, I love all of it, but, you know, the mix of the live drums alongside the Simmons and the Linn drum, I just think is something that is in my DNA now. I can't help it. From hearing the synthetic electronic percussion on The Pleasure Principle by Gary Newman and all those kind of things. And then obviously Prince digging Gary Newman and then borrowing ideas from Gary into his own music, which I didn't know at that time, to make the amazing drum sounds that you hear on this. That in 1986, I mean, they had great drum sounds, or they just used the Linn as it was. They wouldn't sort of match a Linn with a live snare drum, maybe with the snares off and have the hand clap or whatever, you know, these combinations of just trying stuff. And then obviously at the back of the Linn drum, every tom, every snare, every sound on the Linn drum 1 has got an external output. So he would put like phaser pedals and chorus pedals or whatever, and delays on some of the sounds. So it wouldn't be across the whole range, it'd just be on the tom or the hat or the bass drum or the snare or whatever cymbal, and it would give that drum track something different that people like Wham and people like that and Howard Jones, who were using Linn drums, but, you know, weren't using it to that extent. Prince used it like an instrument and saw each of those sounds as almost like individual notes, and he wanted to, you know, put effects on them and stuff. So it really changed up how that drum sound, you know, came across on the track. And of course, seeing the live stuff, they managed to pull off some of that live as well, which was amazing. And apparently a lot of Linn drums went down and things would go wrong. And, you know, MIDI wasn't that great at that time. But anyway, that's a whole nother thing. But yeah, so thanks, Prince. Thanks for producing and creating and writing with The Revolution this amazing album. And I love that cover as well, very iconic. So yeah, 38 years. If you've got this album, got good memories, bad memories, like or don't like this album, let me know. Leave the comments below. And I hope this finds you well. And I hope you're all groovy and doing your thing. Thanks for liking and subscribing. Please keep it up, keep sharing it, and have a great time over this upcoming weekend, because we're nearly there. And I shall see you soon. Take care, guys. Bye.